We have been conditioned to believe that for any significant transformation to occur in our lives, it must be preceded by a massive, earth-shattering event or an overnight overhaul of our entire existence. We see the fitness influencers waking up at 4 a.m., diving into ice baths, and running marathons before sunrise, and we tell ourselves that if we aren't doing the same, we aren't really trying. We set New Year's resolutions that demand we lose 20 pounds in a month, read 52 books in a year, or start a multi-million-dollar business by next Tuesday. But there is a silent, devastating trap in this go big or go home mentality. When we focus solely on the mountain peak, we often forget that the mountain is climbed one agonizingly small step at a time. This script is not about the grand gestures, it is about the power of the infinitesimal. It is about how I stopped trying to change my life in a day and started changing it by 1%. This is the story of how micro habits saved me from burnout and led me to a version of myself I never thought possible. The problem with intensity is that it is rarely sustainable. Intensity is like a flash of lightning, bright, powerful, and briefly illuminating. It vanishes just as quickly as it appeared. Consistency, on the other hand, is like the steady flow of a river. It may seem slow, but over time it carves through solid rock. For years I was a victim of the all or nothing cycle. I would start a new regime with fiery enthusiasm, only to crash and burn within 2 weeks, because the cognitive load of changing everything at once was too heavy for my brain to carry. I felt like a failure because I couldn't maintain the hustle culture standards. However, the turning point came when I realized that my brain wasn't broken. My strategy was. I needed to stop fighting my biology and start working with it. I needed to lower the bar so far that it became impossible to fail. To understand why micro habits work, we have to look at the simple yet profound mathematics of compound interest applied to human behavior. If you can get just 1% better each day for 1 year, you will end up 37 times better by the time you are done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you will decline nearly down to 0. This is the 1% rule. On any given day, a 1% improvement is virtually imperceptible. It doesn't feel like a breakthrough, it feels like nothing. Choosing to drink a glass of water instead of a soda today doesn't make you healthy instantly. Meditating for 2 minutes doesn't make you enlightened. Reading 1 page of a book doesn't make you an expert. Because the immediate results are invisible, we often dismiss these small actions in favor of something more dramatic. However, time acts as a magnifier. It takes whatever you feed it, good habits or bad habits, and multiplies it. This is why habits are the double-edged sword of self-development. Small errors in judgment, like skipping a workout or eating processed sugar, don't show up as a catastrophe today. But when these 1% declines are repeated day after day, they eventually lead to a health crisis, a broken relationship, or a stagnant career. On the flip side, the small, seemingly insignificant wins accumulate into a plateau of latent potential. This is the most frustrating part of the journey. You might be doing the right things for months without seeing any tangible change, and then suddenly, you hit a breakthrough point where all your previous efforts manifest at once. This isn't luck, it's the delayed manifestation of thousands of 1% improvements. Why is it so hard to start a big habit but so easy to maintain a small one? The answer lies in the architecture of the human brain. Our brains are designed for efficiency. Every time we perform an action, our brain looks for ways to automate it to save energy. This process happens in the basal ganglia, a small part of the brain responsible for pattern recognition and habit formation. When we try to implement a macro habit, like working out for 2 hours, our prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for willpower and decision-making, has to work overtime. Willpower is a finite resource. It's like a phone battery that drains throughout the day. By the time you get home from a stressful job, your willpower battery is at 5%, making it nearly impossible to force yourself into a high-intensity habit. Microhabits bypass this willpower tax. Because a microhabit is so small, think doing one push-up or writing one sentence, it requires almost zero willpower to initiate. It doesn't trigger the fear center or the procrastination reflex, because the effort required is below the threshold of resistance. Once the action is initiated, the activation energy has been spent. Most of the time, the hardest part of any task is simply starting. By shrinking the habit to a microscopic size, you are essentially tricking your brain into starting. Once you're on the floor doing that one push-up, the resistance is gone, and you'll often find yourself doing 10 or 20. But even if you only do that one, you have successfully reinforced the neural pathway of being a person who works out. You are casting a vote for your new identity. To turn these theories into a lived reality, I had to implement a framework. The first pillar is the 2-minute rule. The concept is simple. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Read before bed becomes read one page. Do yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. Study for the exam becomes open my notes. The goal is not to achieve a result. The goal is to master the art of showing up. You cannot improve a habit that doesn't exist. By making the habit incredibly easy to start, you ensure that you can stay consistent even on your worst days, the days when you're tired, sick, or busy. Consistency is what builds the habit muscle. Once the showing up part becomes automatic, the improvement part happens naturally. The second pillar is habit stacking. One of the best ways to build a new habit is to tie it to an existing one. Our lives are already full of biological and environmental cues. Brushing our teeth, making coffee, sitting down at a desk. Habit stacking uses the formula. After current habit, I will new micro habit. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. Or after I close my laptop for the day, I will do 5 squats. By anchoring the new behavior to a pre-existing neurological loop, you don't have to rely on memory or motivation. The old habit becomes the trigger for the new one. This creates a seamless flow in your daily routine, where one positive action naturally leads into the next, creating a success spiral. The third pillar is environment design. We often think that people with good habits have incredible self-control, but the truth is usually that they live in a better designed environment. Motivation is fickle, but environment is permanent. If you want to drink more water, put a bottle on your desk, in your car, and by your bed. If you want to practice guitar, put the guitar on a stand in the middle of the living room, not tucked away in a closet. This is called reducing friction. Conversely, if you want to break a bad habit, increase the friction. If you spend too much time on social media, delete the app so you have to log in via a browser. If you eat too much junk food, hide it in a high cabinet or don't buy it at all. Your environment is the invisible hand that shapes your behavior. Make sure it's working for you, not against you. The most dangerous moment in any self-improvement journey is what I call the valley of disappointment. This is the period where you have been putting in the work, doing your micro habits, and being 1% better, but the results haven't caught up to your expectations. You expect your progress to be linear, a straight line pointing upward, but progress is actually exponential. It stays flat for a long time, and then it explodes. This is where most people quit. They say, I've been meditating for 3 weeks and I still feel stressed, this doesn't work. But they don't realize that they are currently storing the progress. They are building the foundation. To survive this plateau, you must shift your focus from goals to systems. A goal is a destination, like losing 20 pounds. A system is a process, like being someone who never misses a walk. Goals are about the future. Systems are about the present. Goals can actually be detrimental to happiness because they create a once I reach X, I will be happy mentality. Systems allow you to fall in love with the process. When you focus on the system of micro habits, you can feel successful every single day that you complete your 2-minute task. This daily hit of dopamine keeps you going until you eventually break through the plateau. You aren't working toward a transformation. You are living the transformation through your daily actions. The ultimate reason why micro habits saved my life is not because they made me more productive or healthier. It's because they changed my identity. True behavior change is actually identity change. You can force yourself to go to the gym for a month through sheer willpower, but if you still view yourself as someone who hates exercise, you will eventually revert to your old ways. However, when you perform a micro habit, you are providing yourself with evidence of a new identity. Every time you write a single paragraph, you are a writer. Every time you choose a healthy snack, you are a healthy person. Every time you save $5, you are a saver. Over time, these votes accumulate. Eventually, the evidence of your new identity becomes so overwhelming that you stop having to try to be that person. You simply are that person. You no longer need a habit tracker to tell you to read, because you have become a reader. This is the highest form of habit formation, when the habit is no longer something you do, but something you are. This is where the 1% changes lead. They take you from a state of constant struggle to a state of effortless being. The person who saved my life wasn't a version of me that did everything perfectly. It was the version of me that decided to just do one small thing correctly every single day. As we wrap up this exploration of micro habits, I want you to take a moment to look at your own life. What is that one big change you've been procrastinating on because it feels too heavy to lift? I want you to take that mountain and turn it into a grain of sand. Don't worry about the next year. Don't even worry about the next week. Just worry about the next 2 minutes. What is the smallest possible version of the habit you want to build? Whatever it is, do it today, and then do it tomorrow. Remember, the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be consistent. Some days you will feel like doing more, and that's great. But on the days when life is falling apart, just do your 2-minute version. Keep the streak alive. Protect your identity. You don't need a miracle to change your life. You just need a system of 1% improvements. Start small, stay consistent, and let time do the heavy lifting. You will be amazed at where you end up 365 days from now. Thank you for watching, and here is to the power of the small.